Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. I hope all is good. And I am going to start off by saying that you guys may lose me. I've already talked about it to my fabulous co host, Philip, and our guest, Reverend Shawn Whittington. So if you guys lose me, they're going to continue the show without me, and I will be back as soon as possible. But I am truly looking forward to today's show. As always, it's great to see you again, Philip.
Good to see you, and so glad to have Rev with us tonight. But I
Yeah,
do
big.
want to say that everyone pay close attention tonight because whenever Reverend Shawn is on, weird things happen. I'm just going to tell you, we've had little girls laughing that aren't here. We
Yeah.
have, so pay attention because he brings a very interesting energy to our program. And so I've got Jesus and Archangel Michael lit up back here. I've got my cross here just in case, gotta just saying. I've watched
Yeah.
your new show. We're going to talk about it. So I came prepared. So,
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
A
okay,
couple of questions. Actually, I'm going to throw a bunch of questions at you guys here real quick.
bring
I'm,
them.
I'm happy to be here. A matter of fact, I had to sneak out of Bible study early to be here. So that should tell you both how much I love the two of you to be here and
Thank you.
miss
Thank
it
Jesus
on
you.
still
Bible.
loves you for that anyway.
But what I want to say is a couple of things. If if we lose Dr. Heather, doesn't the signal go through her and then we lose the whole show?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know because it's already live on the internet. I think StreamYard keeps going without me,
Oh, okay,
but
gotcha.
I'm not sure. So I know my husband's upstairs watching, so you guys could always ask him, and he'll respond if I'm gone and you guys are still there.
Now, my
Yeah.
second question is, Philip and I were talking about, you know, uh, we're not in high school anymore. Let's put it that way, and we're getting older, and
A little bit. Yeah.
I confessed that I still color my beard and color my hair, or I would look like Danny DeVito in a Santa outfit. Um, so Philip had commented about this new thing that Facebook does to your picture that makes you look younger, and I
StreamYard.
was wondering if
StreamYard.
that picture of you when the show starts at the beginning is that effect, because I love that. But what
Oh.
they don't tell you
Hmm.
is they're kind of, without you knowing it, they're giving you a little ha ha, because as they're making you look younger, they're making your ears look longer, and
I've
that's
got
just not
big ears
right.
anyway. I got huge ears. Oh, those pictures. There's a free app called Photo Lab that you can do all kinds of fun things with pictures, and I did those kind of cartoonish, avatarish pictures on that app. I just thought it was something fun.
Yeah. I like that he
And
gave me highlight.
the third thing I will say to you guys, and it's up to you guys. There's no wrong answer here, and it's your guys' show. But we always do have, the weirdness follows me around. I don't know why, but if you
Mhm.
guys want me to say a prayer of protection for us and your listeners, I will. Before we get started, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely. But if there's somebody that needs help on the other side, that this is how they need to come through, leave it open for that. But
Yeah.
all the boogers, keep them away.
Okay, let's do a prayer. It's called the blessing of the boogers. So let's do a blessing of the boogers here, and then any energies of love and light that are here, like our guardian angels,
Yes.
loved ones, excuse me, in visitation, they
Hmm.
always know they're more than welcome to stay with us.
Yes. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord Jesus Christ, in thy name I ask thee to bind and silence all powers and forces that do not accept thee as Lord and King. In the air, in the water, in the ground, the netherworld, and nature, and the spiritual world. I ask thee to bind all demonic action and demonic communication. Lord, seal this whole place, all of us here, and all our intentions in the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Mary, we ask thee to surround us with thy mantle of protection and crush Satan's power in our lives. St. Michael the Archangel, we ask you and all our guardian angels to defend us in battle against Satan and the powers of darkness. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Okay, boogers are gone.
Excellent.
And I am happy to be here, guys. It's been a long time. Philip,
Mm-hmm.
I had a face. Do you guys want me to talk about my Facebook emergency before we get going? Because I had like
I'm
2,000
curious.
messages in the last week. People
Yes.
think I disappeared. I was a couple of weeks ago. I was actually on Facebook messaging back and forth with a friend,
Mm-hmm.
and my profile froze up. So I thought it was internet issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I logged off my computer, logged back on. I could get into my profile, but it wasn't my profile any longer. I kept getting this name, Zach King.
Oh.
If that means anything to anybody.
No.
So I sent a message to this Zach King, didn't get any response back. Sent several messages through several different avenues
Mm-hmm.
to Facebook about the issue. Never heard back from them either. So then all of a sudden my profile was gone, just disappeared.
Oh.
And my phone starts ringing, and it's the friend that I was on Facebook with saying he did the same thing, and your profile froze up. I logged off, logged back in. I'm getting this Zach King guy. Now you're just gone. Did you just get hacked? So I don't know if Facebook got mad at me for something, and God only knows if that's the case, what I might have done that made them mad. But it's been deactivated. I don't know if Facebook did it or if I got hacked, but I had this other profile for many years called Lawrence Marais.
Mm.
And that's a tribute to my parents, Lawrence Whittington and Edith Marais. And
Oh, okay.
I've had that profile for many years, but now I added my name on the back end of it in parentheses, Sean Patrick Whittington. So that's where I'm at to everybody. If you were a Facebook friend and you still want to be Facebook friends, go to Lawrence Marais and send me a request and we'll stay in contact. But I'm working out of there now, but the Ghost Be Gone page stayed untouched.
Mm.
And I did have to create a new show page. The old
Oh,
show page is
geez.
still there in limbo. You can log on to, but I posted a comment that it's not active any longer. Just the archives are there. But now I'm working out of a new show page, and life goes on. But that's the craziest thing. And
Yeah. Facebook, that something similar happened to me in 2020. I went into, you should change your security password every so often. And I went in to do it regular and it locked me out. And then that was it. I, it, and no humans work at Facebook. I don't know who it's run by, but
yeah.
there aren't any actual breathing, blood pumping humans that work at Facebook. So you can't get in touch with anybody. I
Well,
did.
here's an interesting thing somebody told me who's knows people that work with Facebook or even work for Facebook. They said that it can just be something as simple as Um, and now that the show came out and ran its course and other
Yeah.
things going on in my life, uh, you get to a certain high profile and you become a target, and it just can be as simple as many trolls complaining about you just to complain about you to Facebook, and they're they're set up to where you get a certain amount of complaints on a person or a profile in a certain period of time. Community standard rule, they have to shut you down. I guess it could be
Without
something as simple.
investigating, without checking into anything, just like YouTube. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But the pandemic was hitting. My mother was passing away. I had no way to communicate through Facebook to everyone who that's how I communicated with them. So I had to go do a whole separate profile, and everyone was like, "Why did you unfriend me?" It's like, I did not unfriend you. And then I kept emailing, and they said, "You are too young to have a Facebook account." Well, I was flattered, but I was like, "Well, that's not true." These weird excuses, and then 6 months later, boop, we're sorry for the inconvenience. And
Really, it came back.
came back. So
That is so strange.
yeah,
Maybe my profile. I don't know. I don't know. But I couldn't wait around.
no,
I had to keep going. Life goes on.
amen. But also, I think there's probably forces at play that are always trying to get at you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
that will try to stop good work from being done. I'm not going to say, everybody can read into that what's intended actually, but yeah, I believe that. That's happened to me on investigations. My GPS kept taking me to wrong addresses. I mean, I was like, that's not the address I put in.
I laugh at all that stuff now. We refer to that as parlor tricks. It's
Yeah.
just a certain amount of trickery with the environment and your like.
Mhm.
And I used to get so upset before, but now I just laugh it off and go, "That's all you got."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now I go, that's pretty cool. How'd you do that? But I got work to do. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just assumed it was a fake account that came through, which is why I ignored it.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm getting all the messages. I've
Yep.
slowly but surely, if somebody's name pops up and I go, "Oh, that was a friend of mine. I would like to stay in contact." I send them a message. Sure
Mhm.
enough, they get right back to me and say, "Nice try, pal. Pound sand. You know, Mr. Hacker, leave me alone." I'm like, "No, it's really me. Call me then." I got to put the headphones on and plug the camera in and call them and go, "Hi."
Such a hassle.
So I'm doing that, and just a lot of people just emailing me and text messaging me and private messaging me and wanting to know what happened. So that's what happened. So
Mhm.
Thanks for telling us. I know it's exhausting and it happens to a lot of people. It's
it's really really bad.
part of this internet
This
world.
whole situation has made a lot of people reach out to me and say it happened to them more than once, and it's happening a lot. And I
Yeah,
don't understand why Facebook doesn't have some type of better security plan in place to stop that.
you would think.
Or yeah, it's just crazy.
Or a department to help with it.
Yeah, I mean, really,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Mhm.
investigate the accusations or claims. It wouldn't take much to go look at somebody's profile and go, okay, well, there's nothing offensive here. I mean,
Mhm.
but that's too simple. And I found that people don't do simple things in life. They like to
Nope.
make things hard.
So the other thing I know we definitely wanted to talk about today was the recent show that you were on. I gotta tell you, I binge watched the whole series, loved it. Always learned something new from it. Was that, if I remember correctly, that was filmed before COVID, so you weren't even sure it was going to actually air.
It was actually they reached out to me about the project before
Okay.
COVID, before the
Yeah.
pandemic. So we worked on it for a couple of years, just like the three of us are here online.
Mhm.
Zoom meetings and
Yeah.
talking about stories and the creating the program and stuff. But
Mhm.
it was a couple of years later, and then I think we went for a week. They crammed, unbelievably, they crammed in about 12 weeks worth of filming in 2 weeks. We went down to LA like about 2 weeks before Christmas of 2021, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Then we went back for a week right after Easter of 2022. And we thought the show was going to come out part of the Ghostober programming
Uh-huh.
fall of 22. But it didn't make that. And they decided, since there was that whole merger thing going on where HBO Max was becoming
Yeah.
Max and
Mhm.
Discovery Plus, and then we're merging and becoming some type of partnership with
Uh-huh.
travel. So they knew that when they finally that deal went down and they decided to launch that whole thing in the spring or June, I should say, of this year, they decided to premiere their show then. So they pushed it back and didn't have us part of Ghostober. Um, so yeah, so you figure what, almost
Uh-huh.
4 years of working on it before it finally came out. So yeah, it was, but I think they did really. We're all really proud of it. We don't know if it's going to go to a season two, and we know that it's not a show for everybody, but everybody involved's really proud of it, and we think it stands on its own. It's not like anything I've ever seen on TV before in that
Mhm.
dealing with horror, paranormal, possession, and exorcism and stuff. So we're really proud of it, and I get some people that come that attack me a little bit, not digging the
Happen.
show at all, and that's okay. But
Success for you.
but the positive feedback has been overwhelmingly supportive, and I'm really happy about that.
If we could backtrack for a minute, if
Mhm.
anybody's listening that's not quite sure what we're talking about, behind him, there is that one poster. Yeah, well, the
Mhm.
man with the side eye giving us is Eli Roth. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay. And the show is the Legion of Exorcists, and it's on Max, which was HBO Max. It's their separate
Mhm.
streaming channel now. So that's the show we're talking about. In case
You can
anybody.
also get it on. I think it's streaming on Discovery Plus Max,
Okay.
and you can Dr. Heather already bought the full season one. You can get this whole complete season one for like $10
Yep.
at
Oh wow.
Amazon Prime Video. So
Yep.
because I still get people reaching out to me going, "Why didn't you tell me you were in a show that came out?" I'm like, "How could you not know? It's been promoted enough." But
Yeah.
people still reach out and go, "I heard about this show. Is it true you were in a show?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not on the air anymore. Season one ran its." Well, how can I watch it now? So I have to tell them Max and Discovery Plus. Well, I don't have those. Okay, well, tell you what, I'll buy you the season. Give me your address. I'll buy season one for you and send it to you. And I've done that to a few people too. So,
But it's amazing how long these things takes. Of mine are on episode 2 of the show that's on Hulu, the Repossessed, and
Mhm.
they filmed a whole year ago before the
wow.
show came out. I mean, it was a whole year, and they couldn't say anything because of the NDAs. So, but it's those things are so time consuming. Now, when they reached out to you, was it the production company that reached out to you with the idea, or your 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 co-host with the show?
Well, I'm going to give somebody a shout out who I love
Okay.
dearly, and you both know her, Joni Mahan, world renowned, critically acclaimed paranormal author and a
Yeah.
elite ghost hunter, ghostbuster. She got a call from somebody one day introducing himself as a producer with a particular company, and
Yeah.
that they were working on a project, possibly for TV, and they needed to speak to uh, exorcists. Did she know any exorcists that she could recommend? And she said the only person I could think of was you.
Mhm.
So I called you first to ask you if it was okay to give your name and number, which she did. And we both kind of laughed because we thought it was a scam. I said,
Uh,
"Yeah, give him my number. I'll talk to the guy, but it's probably a scam." She goes, "Yeah, I can't tell you if it is or isn't." But I spoke to the gentleman, and nicest guy. And our first phone call, he was traveling from back east to LA
mhm.
to start working on the project, and he was actually on a bus he doesn't like to fly, so he was actually on a bus at the time.
Oh
We
wow.
spoke for like 2 hours on his cell while he's on this bus trip. And then when he got to LA, I got the next. Every person I spoke to was like the next rung up on the ladder of responsibility involved in
Mhm.
the project. And I guess at any time, if one of those people didn't really think you were right for the project, you probably didn't get bumped up to the next person. But I
Yeah.
went through probably two or three people. Um, my first response was I told them no, I didn't think that they could really do a program on demonic possession and exorcism, and it not be just not very good.
Yeah.
But when the show creator started telling me what the plan was, I started buying into it. I'm like, that
Uh-huh.
sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Something
And
you'd watch.
yeah, and so you start talking to more and more people, and then you start having Zoom meetings and telling
Mhm.
stories and um, things of that nature. And then there was a dead period where I
Yeah.
hadn't heard from nobody in a while. I thought, well, it didn't get green lighted, or I don't know.
How long was that quiet period?
Pretty good, probably 6 months.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. All right.
After like a year of constantly talking to these people, then all of a sudden nothing. Maybe even longer than 6 months.
Okay.
So one day I'm in the parking lot. I was so hungry. I was running errands with Sharon. I'm on my way home, and I just said, I know this isn't on my diet, but we're going to Del Taco. So we pulled into Del Taco, and we got our order in the drive-through, pulled out, and I said, I can't even wait till I get home. I'm so hungry. I parked in the parking lot and I got a mouthful of bean and cheese burrito, and my phone starts ringing, and I have to quickly swallow because I see it's an LA call. I'm like, I don't know what this is about. I answered call, and I actually got offered the job in the parking lot of a Del Taco with a mouthful of bean and
Oh,
cheese
that's
burrito.
great. That's a good story. Then you're
So
so excited you couldn't eat anymore.
no, I finished the burrito.
Oh,
I've been on a Nutrisystem for 2 years, so I was going to finish my Del Taco.
yeah.
And so I got home and I made some more phone calls to make sure this was all legit, yada yada yada. And the rest is history, as they say, history. We didn't know. They kept that a secret from us that Eli was involved till the very last day of the second trip out to LA.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
they said it was a day that was just going to be all about promotional photos. They had photographers
Yeah.
there that were going to do a lot of different promotional photos. And that's all we thought. No filming, just
Yeah.
promotional photos. And then we're all heading home.
Now, had you
And
signed
I
the dotted
see it.
line by then? Had you signed everything by then? Yeah. Okay.
I see him and one of the producers walking up this long drive. We didn't film in a studio. We were actually on location in this beautiful 200-year-old Catholic church up in the hills above Old Pasadena.
Wondered where that
Beautiful
was.
place.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And I see him walking up, and here's my response. I, the old saying, "Act like you've been there." Well, I didn't act like I'd been there before, but I acted like my typical annoying self, and I said, "Hey, that's the Jew Bear. Is that the Jew Bear?" And only a couple of people got what I was saying because he played Donnie, the guy with the bat, killing zombies, killing Nazis in Quentin Tarantino's movie. What was that movie? Quentin
Uh,
Tarantino.
yeah,
Um, he plays a character called the Jew Bear, and
I'm
he
sure there
beats
was naked
Nazis to
feet
death
in
with a
it.
bat. Um, I said, "Is that the Jew Bear?" And one of the people go, "That is the Jew Bear." And we couldn't remember his name either. And the other guy said, "That's Eli Roth." Went, Eli Roth, that's right. He's the guy that did Last Exorcism, right? And then somebody else goes, "Yeah, and he also did Cabin Fever and Hostel and yada yada yada." I'm like, "What's he doing here?" And he didn't even know we were there. He was walking
Oh,
up towards his trailer and glanced over at us, and he got so legitimately excited to see us all because he had been watching us for months.
yeah,
Film of us
yeah.
editing stuff for months. He felt like we were family. He knew all of us. He came walking over and spent a lot of time with us there talking, and we found out then, and we were like, we didn't know.
Yeah, that's
So we
wild.
were like,
That's
this
different.
is very, very cool. And so
Yeah.
I'm I'm more happy for everybody else than I am for me, because everybody did such a great job from the production company to the producers to my cast members, um, to the director Brian Knapmiller, and I want to give a shout out to Allison Berkeley and Joseph Freed from Marwar Junction Productions. They created the show. Brian Knapmiller was the director. The actor Steve Crawford that plays me, I thought
Mhm.
did a great job,
Yeah.
and I'm just really happy for everybody else, and hope that they get wonderful success from it. And God bless them all, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if we'll do another season, but yeah, I'm just happy for everybody else.
Well, with the writer's strike, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more, hopefully, of these good things,
Yeah,
instead of a
yeah.
bunch of
Yeah.
junk. Oh, Robin Wolf said dusk
Yep.
till dawn.
Oh,
Is
wrong
that
one.
the,
Dust Till Dawn. I don't know if he was in Dust Till Dawn, but he was in a movie.
I was thinking Inglorious Bastards. Is
That's
that
it.
the one?
That's it.
oh, okay.
He's one of Brad Pitt's team
That's the only one I could
members.
think of that had Nazis in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I see him in everything. I'm flipping this channels around the other day, and I'm watching this old movie where he's in a bar and he's being really obnoxious. It's another Tarantino movie, and it's um, Kurt Russell plays a psycho ex stuntman in a souped
Yes.
up
Yeah.
car.
Saw
He's
that.
in. I see him in the bar. I'm like, oh, there's Eli. Now I see him everywhere. And before I, I knew who he was, but
It's funny.
just I want everybody to know that he is just just the nicest, legitimately the nicest guy and
Oh,
very
that's good to
talented
hear.
person. And I'm just, you know, just grateful for the opportunity that this got laid in my lap. You know who doesn't get credit for this? Who should be on the credits at the end of every episode? God.
Oh.
God definitely laid this in everybody's lap. And I know that he orchestrated this whole thing. So God should definitely get a big shout out here as being the real show creator.
Good.
Yeah. One quick question though, going back to that with all of the cast, what was the energy like in the room once all of these exorcists went into this church and sat down to talk? I mean, I doubt any demon tried to enter that
No,
church during that time.
"Oh, we're out of here. See
I'm
ya."
gonna let you all in on a little secret. This is just between us.
Just
I
us.
couldn't stand my cast members.
Yeah.
Biggest group of most annoying people I've ever met. No, we're all here again. God threw us all together, and how only God could know that we would all love each other the way we do and get along the way we do. And the chemistry was just great. And you're right. We did feel relatively untouchable in that church, but this old church there a lot of spirit there. I could feel them. I could see them. And outside that church, dying to get in and do anything they could to stop the project were the boogers.
Yeah.
And but they had moments where they made a couple of people very ill on the set.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of days where the day started out like today in Las Vegas, really warm, beautiful, and all of a sudden, right in the middle of the most crucial part of filming that day, we get a cloud come over just that church and a torrential downpour, and then frigid weather, like middle of winter. So it was there was some issues, but we got through it, and it was probably because we were in that church. So we did feel a certain amount of everybody's guardian angels there protecting and watching over the program. And because I've been involved with projects where they get shut down immediately from, anything that can go wrong did go wrong. And we knew that it was powers beyond our control getting into that stuff.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
very little happened on the set of this.
Well, I mean, being with your cast members, I hate to call them cast members, but no one knows what you have been through other than ones that have been through it too. So it had to be more like this amazing support group that's like, yeah, you understand this. You know what it's like. I mean, that had to be a really good feeling to be around people who totally get it.
Yeah, it was. It was really an amazing feeling. And at the time, like now, I legally, technically, I don't go by the title Reverend Shawn anymore because I'm just a seminarian. But how that happened was I was an ordained Christian exorcist when I started the show, and after 2 weeks of filming with Bishop James Long, we really hit it off. And one day I'm in my trailer, and it's the end of the day of a long day, and he comes walking in. It might have been lunch, but he comes walking in my trailer. Do you mind if I come in and talk to you And he's got this, he's a nice guy, and he's always smiling, but he's got this really weird little grin on his face. And I'm like, he's up to something. But so what's up, James? What do you want to talk about? And he's just staring at me, and he goes, well, I just want you to know that you have a pure heart, and I'm just going to hit you right between the eyes with this. I think you would be a great priest. And I just want you to know if you would consider that, if that sounds like something you might want to do, look into the United States Old Catholic Church, and I could speak for you at the Council of Bishops and try to get you into the seminary there. Well, what he didn't know at the time, and I didn't tell him for quite some time after that, when I was a really little kid, my mom used to ask me if I wanted to, what I want to be when I grow up. And I would, dumb kid, I would say, policeman, cop, fireman, whatever, Spider-Man, whatever. But she'd say, I think you should be a priest. And I thought that was, growing up, I always thought that was the funniest thing anybody ever said to me. Well, when he's asking me that, I kid you not, my mother's face was over his face, and it
Oh,
was her voice coming through his mouth. And I was like, I didn't know until that very moment
mhm.
that that's why I did that. That's why that show was laid in my lap and why I was there. Had nothing to do with the show at all. It was for that moment. And I didn't even answer that day. I said, I'll call you when
Yeah.
I get back home to Vegas. And I had talked to my wife about it. And I said, I'm only talking to you about it because I love you and I run everything past you. But I've already made the decision that it's yes, because this is God and my mom. This is my mom
Yeah.
telling me and God asking me, you don't say no to God. So she said, absolutely. So I called him up, said, yes, I'm all in. And uh, again, the rest. So I'm in the seminary now. Who goes into the seminary at 63? You only go into the seminary in 63 if God
Yeah.
personally asks you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so that's what I'm doing now. So I've really, everything's been on hold as far as working cases and going out and doing exorcisms and stuff, and ghost hunting and ghost busting. All that's been really put on hold until I can get, because seminary is a lot of studying.
It's like going back to college, basically. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah,
you're a full-time student.
yeah. So, but it's November 3rd. I'll be in Lexington, Kentucky, and then we drive to English, Indiana, where I'm going to be ordained into the diaconate. And then I understand spring of 2024, uh, you know, God
Mhm.
willing, I'm planning on being ordained into the priesthood next year. So I don't know how close to Lexington, Kentucky, and English, Indiana you guys are. It's open to the public,
Mm.
but it's a beautiful chapel from what I understand, and it's going to be a big ceremony, and they're going to ordain me and two other seminarians into the diaconate. One of the deacons is going to be ordained into the priesthood, and another one of the seminarians is going to be get his take his full vows into the Order of Saint Benedict. So
Wow.
that's going to be a really cool
Yeah.
day for me.
Mhm.
Wish they could live stream that. Maybe an
Yeah,
invasion of privacy for some of those people, but
you never know. You never
yeah.
know. So I'll be
Oh,
driving. So if you see me driving around in the Pope Mobile in November around Kentucky and Indiana, you're not seeing things. I'm teasing Bishop Long that it's the Pope Mobile because he's going to pick me up at the airport and drive me around and stuff. So I'm teasing him that it's going to be the Pope Mobile. And
that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you come on our show, we had Bishop Long on a couple times, and one time there was a loud growling noise that came through just after he got done showing us a photo of a demon he captured,
Yeah.
and he's the reason we got banned off of YouTube because
really,
I uploaded his show, and 2 days later we were shut down. So I always tease him that he's the reason we got shut down.
I had a lot of episodes for my show get taken down. Right? If you said anything about the vaccines or the pandemic,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
or not even the pandemic or where the virus came from,
Mhm.
your episode got shut down, even if it was just a
Yeah.
brief little mention in a 2-hour episode.
Mhm.
Uh, what has happened to the world? Um,
You're watching. I'm not going to say anything else.
okay, yeah.
I would like to give a say hello. We have Karen Bennett is watching from
Yep.
Australia. Very
Wow.
nice.
Yep. She
Well,
commented earlier on our YouTube channel saying she liked our show and was going to be watching tonight.
thank you. We are so
So
glad to have
funny.
you. I know the time difference is
Somebody
crazy.
said that I get people from all over wanting to know why the show didn't go to their country. UK is one of them, and Australia is one of them. There's apparently. I thought streaming went everywhere, but I guess not.
I guess I
No.
think it's some contracts and money. It's all everything's always about money and
And country laws, because I know
copyright.
there's some certain shows that won't air in like the Middle East because of language and nudity.
Yeah. I don't think
And
there's
now
any
that comment's going to get us banned. No.
show, but I wanted
I'll
to
just,
give
I'll just make so our show doesn't get banned. I'll make sure I don't stand up because it's 115 degrees here, so I have no pants on. And so if I stand up, it'll be a completely different kind of show. I got underwear on, but it is so hot here.
Oh,
I was all dressed up when I came in here, and I'm like, this isn't. I'm 2 hour show. This isn't going to happen. So I off went the dress shoes and the dress slacks, and so
yeah. I got raggedy shorts on.
that
So
was that TMI. I'm sorry.
No,
no, it's the truth, and we're about the truth here on Ghost Ed.
we've had worse happen on this show, so we're good.
So if I need to stand up and grab something for the show, I might have to pass on
Just
that.
duck and crawl. That's I've learned to do that. Excuse me.
Or let me know and I'll take you off camera real quick. Actually, we did have a quick question about the show because I wanted to also talk about your book that came out. But Robin says, great show. I think you made a comment on the show that witchcraft was going more popular over demonology. Can you explain that? I think it had something to do with people putting hexes on people.
Is that for me? Probably.
I think so.
Hi, Robin. I do want to start by saying anybody that has known me for a long time knows that I have a lot of friends who are pagans and witches. I don't judge. I accept everybody. The only time I have an issue with somebody is if they start to pervert and distort their religious belief system and do weird things with it, like casting spells or just bad things. Having said that, I probably wasn't the one that said that on the show, but if I did, let's pretend I did. And if I did say something like that, what did I mean? I do know, this is my honest opinion. I think the veil between the worlds is the thinnest that I've seen it in my lifetime. And I'm 63 years old now.
And you can feel it.
You can feel it. You can see it. Basically, the world's gone a little mad right now. And I'm not the kind of guy you're going to see on the corner with standing on a box with a sign that says, repent now, the end is near, and hitting people with the Bible. But I'm going to say that it is all evil. I can walk down the street wearing this collar and have people that don't even know me yell at me, Jesus wasn't real. And they just walk on like going about their day. That's demonic. Those people are oppressed. They have an attachment. Some of the violence you see people, we've always had violence in the world, in mankind, but the kind of unnecessary random violence you see people doing to one another now, that's demonic. And you can point it out. It's easy to see, for me at least. It's easy to see, and the reason is because humanity got away from God. You can be the pagans and the witches I know. Most of them are still of love and light. They believe in a yin and a yang. They believe that there's low vibrational malevolence and there's high vibrational entities of love and light watching over us. Even if they don't believe in the God that I believe in or believe in Jesus, they at least believe in that. A lot of my indigenous friends will talk and go, do you think we pray to the same God? We don't know, but they pray to the Great Father. And holy people in these indigenous tribes are very, very holy, and they believe in Mother Earth, the Great Father, all of that sort of stuff. So I don't judge. The only time I have a problem with people, and I agree, there were some episodes and stories depicted on the show that really tried to make witchcraft look bad, because I've encountered some bad people doing some bad things in the name of the dark arts and witchcraft.
Sure.
And so have everybody else on that set, even the show creators. So that's why probably it felt like we lashed out at them a little bit. But I'm not going to put words in anybody else's mouth. But for me personally, I do have many friends who are pagans and witches, but they're good people. They have good hearts. They believe in love and light, and they don't twist their religious belief system and do ugly things with it.
Yeah. So I don't have to hide my magic book then?
Just be careful. Be careful with it, but you don't have to hide it.
Well, there
I
are
know, I'm
good
just teasing you.
and bad people in every type of organization, religion, politics. You've got the people who want to do good and the people who don't want to do good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, sometimes people get lumped in together. I mean, because witchcraft to me was like, they respected the spirits of nature and revered nature, and there's nothing evil about that to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they were the healers, and then they were made to look bad with the name witch. So,
Mm-hmm.
but then there are bad, but I mean, a true witch knows that whatever you put out is coming back to you tenfold, whether it's good or bad.
Yep.
So if you put out something bad, you better put your seatbelt on because it's coming back.
Absolutely. And I want to say there was another reason why I so readily was able to jump. I didn't have to look up the USOCC, the United States Old Catholic Church. I already knew that their priests could be married, their
Mm-hmm.
priests could be gay,
Mm-hmm.
they ordained women. It was like the true essence of being Catholic, which is accepting
Mm-hmm.
all.
Yeah.
No judgment, accepting all, and that's what I really fell in love with about
Yep.
that church, because I was already a baptized Roman Catholic, so the transition was just so easy. Um, uh, so life's too short, man. If a person is a good person, they're a good person.
Yeah.
If they're a bad person, then they're a bad person. And
Yeah.
if it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Another
Yep.
shout out, Paul Elliott from the UK. Woo, we're
Yep.
international tonight.
Yep, I was going to bring that up. And then I know we have Jerry's watching from YouTube. For those of you who don't know, we do air on YouTube live as well. Bob, he's a regular watcher. Like I said, Josh is
Yep.
upstairs listening. Robin's here. And
Yeah, Jerry's on my team in Georgia.
Michelle. Yeah, Michelle's here as well. And then, and Paul just chimed in a few minutes ago, started commenting. If you guys have any questions for any of us or even our guests, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll make sure to flag them and we'll get to them. And anything else about the show you wanted to ask, Philip?
Yes.
Okay.
So how did you choose what stories to show? Because out of all of you, I'm sure there were hundreds and hundreds of cases. Did you just discuss which would present better on a show or which affected you the most, or how did you choose them? I mean, that had to be a big process.
Well, I think two of the at least one of the show creators that I had several 1 to 2 hour Zoom calls with read my first book, God Goes to the Paranormal Ministry.
Yeah.
And so there were some stories in there that he brought up.
Well, I have that and read it.
Then me personally, there were some other stories. I have a lot of stories that I had never planned on sharing.
Sure.
But I didn't realize until just recently until actually I did the show, that telling these stories was a big relief for me and very therapeutic to get that monkey off my back and release that. But it was just, they basically chose, in talking to me and me telling stories, they decided which ones they wanted to do. How they made that decision, I'm not sure. And I'm also here to tell you that they were watered down a little bit, because some of the things that, especially my stories, some of the things that happened to me and some of my clients were pretty, not over the top, like they're never going to believe that, but very graphic and very ugly, nasty things that you just can't show on TV. Maybe on the big screen, but not on TV. And so what I did after the show was done being filmed, I went ahead and wrote the second book. And so that didn't come out until actually, I think, just days before the premiere of the show. My second book, God Goes to the Paranormal Ministry 2, came out. And those are all just straight stories that I probably would have never shared. And they might even be stories too scary for TV. If it goes to a season 2, I don't know if any of the stories in that book they can use, but I knew that some of these stories I needed to talk about and tell.
To work through,
yeah. And so that's how it happened for me. I just how they decided on which ones, I don't really know, but I told a lot of stories to a couple of people over long Zoom meetings. One of the producers and the director, and then they decide, knowing how they film things and how they
Yeah.
do things, they decided on which stories. And then they made a script for you so that you weren't just doing this on screen.
Yeah, sure.
I was scared, and yeah, and then I got hit by a bottle, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, I was scared. You
It
have to
was
have some script to
sure.
be able to read before you get to the set and go. And they were so understanding. Like, if there's anything you don't like about what we're telling you to say, tell us. So
Oh,
there was
that's
a lot
nice.
of that too, where maybe I shouldn't say this, or I would like to add this, and it was just such a well done production, and they were just so, they wanted as much as we wanted it to just be presented in
Authentic.
the best possible way,
Mhm.
so it just wouldn't just just be, not good at all. So
Mhm.
I appreciate that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep. Yeah. I love the actor who plays you because it
I love
actually is what I envisioned you would have looked like younger.
how this guy got the role. I'll tell you why. First of all, he's been an actor for a long time.
Mhm.
He was actually a very, when he was much younger, was a
Uh-huh.
very popular, world renowned, like an escaped artist, like Houdini.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
Traveled the world doing these uh, extraordinary feats of magical wonder, escape artist.
Mm.
But he just, they couldn't have picked a nicer, more talented uh, guy to play me. But here's this blonde hair, brown eye, clean shaven guy from Oklahoma who's in my age group. But what he did was, when he knew he was up for the role, he found me,
Uh-huh.
watched my show. So he went out
Smart.
and got a priest shirt and a priest collar. He had his wife darken his hair, comb it back and try to make it look longer, and he put on a fake beard,
Oh, wow.
and he put in blue contacts. And he did my show for his audition reel, like the opening of my show, and
That was a
he did
smart,
my show,
smart man. Yeah.
and he got the part. And um,
Method. Hmm.
I like I said, I don't know how everybody else feels about the actors and actresses that played them, but I love Steve Crawford. I think he did a wonderful job. And if we go to season 2, I hope they bring him back to.
Oh, I don't, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't.
his past is better than your dancing. What was it for Ghostbusters?
Yeah, everybody on the set used to joke around like we didn't know who was going to play us. So on
Mhm.
the set, everybody was knowing Eli. After we knew, they were like, okay, Eli's done. What was that? The house with the clock in its walls. I think that's an
Mhm.
Eli Roth film. Jack
Oh,
Black starred in that. They're like, you are so Jack Black. They're gonna pick Jack Black to pay you. I'm not. This is TV. This is not
yeah.
major mode. Jack Black's not gonna play me on a TV show. They're like, okay, well, they may go with like Danny DeVito. He hasn't worked in a long time. He may want to do the job. Like, they're not gonna get Danny DeVito. Um, so I got my fair share of teasing and ribbing from the cast, because that's all
That's great.
I was brutal on them during the filming. Any chance I got to tease people, um, like if somebody messed up a line, or said something they
Uh,
weren't, or they weren't in their spot, and cut, we got to do that again. Whoever it was, let's say it was Rita, from across the stage, I would go, "Way to go, Rita." I'm doing that the whole time for 2 weeks of filming, to every, "Way to go, Rich. Way to go,
Mhm.
Bishop Long." Oh.
but
Uh,
such a heavy subject matter, you got to
Mhm.
lighten it up somehow, or you just leave there and
Yep.
just want to go drink some holy water or something. I mean, so
there's a
that's
lot of
probably
drama in my life. That's why I'm such a smart ass, because there's such a lot of drama in my life,
got to have
and
a balance.
that's how I combat that.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
it's a higher vibration. Laughter is wonderful for the soul. So,
Yep. So, and were you falling asleep on the set, or did they just,
My
with the way they
God.
filmed, make it look like that?
Oh my God. Um, Okay, let me in my defense. Yeah, oh my gosh. They
People out
probably
there have
have
questions for
they
me. It's your
probably have
turn.
so much footage of me sleeping. Rich on one side and Donnie on the other. How many times I got an elbow during filming? I can't tell you. Let me tell you why. I don't travel well.
Mm.
I didn't sleep at night when I was there. I even have a chapter in my second book about some really bad paranormal activity I had in my room leading up to the first day
Oh,
of filming. Um, so these were long. Like I said, they crammed in like 12 weeks of shooting into like 2 weeks. So we were
yeah.
like, you're in that chair from about 6:30 in the morning to like 7 at night with about a 10-minute lunch break. If you
Oh,
really had to go to the bathroom, you could, but I I nodded off a lot. And I'm surprised the guy that did the editing, they're not paying him enough because he somehow was able to not have me being caught on film sleeping a lot. But there were times where like they're telling something, I'm
uh-huh.
listening to a story, and I was really, really listening to these stories where I would drop into prayer because I would feel because
You needed
we're
to.
constantly
Mhm.
adding strength and energy to these things by talking about these stories.
Sure.
So sometimes I would feel like I needed to just drop in prayer. So there's some shows where you'll see I even have a crucifix in my hand, and but there were some times where I was actually nodding off, but sometimes just praying. But oh my gosh, long days.
Yeah.
And
You're getting their money's worth out of you.
yeah.
Mhm.
But many times Rich had to go, Reverend Shawn, you're sleeping again. Because he had a camera right on the back of his bald head. And he's going, Reverend Shawn, you're sleeping again. Like they
Oh,
can't hear
God.
that. Cut, Rich, we just heard you tell Shawn to wake up.
See,
Donnie kicking me.
if I were
Donnie, we
Bishop
can
Long
see you
across,
kicking Shawn.
if I were Bishop Long across from you, I'd have had a Nerf gun every time you fell asleep. I'd be shooting you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was
You should just say, I'm sorry, I'm channeling. I'm getting a message. I'll
oh
be back.
there were moments where it's like if I knew I had a good one, like if I knew my hands were here, but I woke up and I'm like this, I knew. And I would look over and every guy operating in the cameras like this.
Coffee boy. Where are you?
I
Yeah.
didn't want here's another little secret I'll tell you that.
Mm.
I'm confessing tonight. I guess you guys didn't expect confession.
I'll
So
listen to your
I
confessions.
I'm a supplement guy. So
Yeah.
I take a lot of um fiber
Yeah.
because it's good for old guys.
Sure.
So
Mhm.
I'm very gassy.
Good for all of us.
So I didn't want to be gassy on the set. So about 2 weeks before we leave, I stopped taking all my fiber supplements.
Yeah.
I love coffee. My mother, who was Brazilian, may she rest in peace, had me drinking coffee from like the age of 2 up, strong
Something wrong.
coffee.
Yeah.
So I love coffee, but I didn't want to be um and I drink a lot of water, part of the Nutrisystem thing.
Hmm.
So I'm like every 30 minutes I got to go pee. I didn't want to be getting up all the time during filming to go pee, and I didn't want to I get even though I love coffee, if I have too much of it, I get jittery. I didn't
Oh,
want to
me
be
too.
jittery on the set. And I didn't want to be going to the bathroom all the time. So I didn't drink any coffee. I wasn't like 2 weeks before going. I stopped drinking as much water I was. I just a couple of glasses a day as opposed to
Mhm.
the 8 to 12 I was drinking. And I cut way back on the coffee, like 1 cup in the morning, none
Yeah.
when I was there on the set. And and I'm also glad to report that I wasn't the gassiest one on the set. It was hopefully she's not watching, but it was Bishop Rita.
I got to
And
go
Bishop
rewatch
Rita
this.
can be quite gassy.
It's going to be
Um,
a whole new show when I go back and look at it again.
yeah. The Legion of Gassy Exorcists.
That was not a
Scott could be
demon. That was gas. Sorry.
Scott
Yeah.
Johnson. He could be a little gassy. When Scott introduced himself to me, he said, "Just call me Shrek." I got it because big, heavy-set dude, bald head. I
Uh,
got it, but I didn't really like why Shrek, and I didn't realize why Shrek until the very first day I met him on the set. He turned around and was walking away from him, and I even said to him, "Oh, I realize now why I didn't get to see you from behind on the Zoom meeting." From behind, he looks exactly like Shrek. So he can be a little gassy.
That's funny.
It is what it is.
It is.
Did you guys expect all of this kind of information for me to throw at you tonight?
Nope.
We're all family. We're being honest here.
It needs to be a blooper reel of the Legion of Exorcists. That could be fun.
Oh, if any of my cast members get to see this episode, I'm never going to hear the end of it. So, but it is what it is.
I'm going to make sure I share it with all of them.
We got any questions? Because I want to.
Nope, it's been quiet.
Okay.
I mean, they've been making comments about how they love our positivity and all of that and saying hello, but other than that, nothing.
Well, we're a fun bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found me again on Facebook yet? I know Heather has. Philip, have you found me?
I saw the profile of Lawrence, and I messaged her, and I was like, and she wasn't sure when I first messaged her if it was you or not. So we were like, all right,
please send me a friend request.
Hold on. Okay.
I want you on my show again. It's been too long. I mean, you've been on a couple of times, but then I don't know why it's been so long since you and I have gotten together and chatted, but I want to get you back on the show.
Live.
So send me a friend request.
And you're a big TV star now, and I'm just a lowly little boy in Georgia.
I'm still a hardworking blue-collar guy that literally survives from paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, I know how that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of life too. But I'm so blessed. I feel so blessed, and I'm happier now than I've been probably in many years. Not because of the show, but my wife survived 3 very rare forms of cancer. She's still here. I'm in the seminary. Life's good.
Where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
What I want to talk about, which I think people might be interested in, is walk us through the procedure from getting I don't know if you call them clients, a person who is suspected of having demonic oppression, whatever. There's stages, and I don't know the correct stages, but to getting them the exorcism. What are the A to B to Z stages? And then I may ask you some things along the way, because it's just the process, because so many of these young whippersnapper ghost hunters get so excited. Oh, I think we got a demonic case. And I'm like, you don't have a clue. I mean,
yeah.
Do not, have you done the psychological, evaluation by, a psychiatrist? Well, no, we'll do that after. I mean, I've actually heard that from someone. I said, so let's say they have a brain tumor and they're causing them to have these weird, have you thought of, oh, well, no, we'll do that after. I'm like, I said, so you do major damage to this person's psyche, and they're going to sue you because they're not possessed. You might want to think about it. And they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. It's like, no, you didn't. That's why you shouldn't be messing with this stuff. I mean, these kids today, they're in over their heads. So if you will help explain how intense and involved the process is, maybe it'll discourage some of these younger ones from wanting to go on a demonic case ghost hunt.
If you don't have any intention on ever becoming an exorcist, I believe being an exorcist is a calling.
Yeah.
And you'll know if you're being called to do that. Demonology is completely different. If you are interested in investigating those types of cases and you're already a seasoned ghost hunter, ghostbuster, take a demonology course, a theology course, before you do that. And now that I'm in the seminary, I'll backtrack here in a second, but now that I'm in the seminary and basically have turned the page on how I used to do things, I'm waiting until I'm ordained priest, because by that time I will have taken the theology course and the demonology course with Bishop Long and all of the
education. Yes.
Education. And I know things are going to change a lot because I'm baptized Catholic, but in the time I've been in the seminary, it's amazing how many things I didn't know that I didn't know I didn't know. So, but backtracking, every case is different. the way that everybody approaches these cases in my field, colleague-wise, approaches them different. But my wife and I used to approach it like this.
Mhm.
Someone calls us, I send out an intake form. Now,
Mhm.
this intake form, I require everybody in the house, I don't care how many people are in the house,
Yeah.
everybody in the house has to sit down at a table like a family unit, even if some of the people there aren't blood relatives. If they're living there, they're part of that family unit.
Sure.
And I require that everybody sits there and fills out this form together. And this form can take 2.5, 3 hours to complete. They may even have to do it over a couple of days. But I
Sure.
require that. Then they send the form back to me. Now, I've already had a phone interview, and
Mhm.
I send out, and then in this interview, I will determine if I need to send them a form. Then when the form comes back, my wife and I review it. Sometimes I will have my wife then call back and have her own interview. After that, my wife and I will look at the form again, we'll talk, we'll decide if it's necessary for us to actually physically get and go.
Mhm.
If we decide that we don't actually physically have to go, I reach out to the people and I try to convince them
Mhm.
of the biggest truth that most people won't tell them, which
Mhm.
is they are truly the ones that have the power to turn their lives around and get this thing out of their lives. Whatever is there that is turning their life upside
Yeah.
down, it's there to kill them
Mhm.
or maybe kill more than one person. Um, they are truly the ones that have the power to do this. So if they are willing to 100% jump on board with
Mhm.
what I'm telling them they need to do to fight back, then we are on a good path. At this point is when I start to lose people. Because even sometimes a person can be at rock bottom,
Yeah.
but they don't want to buy into some of the things I'm telling them they need to do. Here in Vegas, I'm going to get hate mail, but here in Vegas, I talk to a lot of prostitutes and a lot of strippers
Yeah.
who are selling their bodies, they're
Mhm.
addicted to drugs, they're addicted to alcohol,
Yeah.
and all their life is 24/7 a party.
Mhm.
Now, when I tell them you have to completely stop all of that and move out of state, um,
Mm-mm. No.
and
They don't want to take responsibility for their own problems.
some of these people have family members that have reached out to me and said, This person is possessed." I've had coworkers
Yeah.
say, "I've watched her on stage have a demonic episode, and nobody knows it's happening but me. So get her some help," because I'm interviewing everybody. I'm interviewing family
Sure.
members, friends. So let's say everything goes along smoothly. Now, here's another place. If I get over that first hurdle and they're on board, this is another place where I lose them. Have you or anybody close to you or another family member ever been clinically diagnosed with a mental illness? And I don't care what it is, any
Yeah.
kind of mental illness. If they, I've had people say absolutely not, and then find out later they lied to me. That's a big
Sure.
no-no. Now
Uh-huh.
the entities have taken that lie and they've gotten the energy off of that lie and deception, and they've gotten stronger.
Uh-huh.
I have to cut them loose at that point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
but if
understand
they're
that.
truthful, then I have to contact the doctor because the doctor is going to get really pissed off at me if I disregard
Mhm.
that she's under his care and I go in a holy water ablazing
Yeah.
and I try to get all Ed Warren on it.
Yeah.
That you have some legal issues. Let's say that I find out they were truthful to me and there's no mental illness. I still ask that they go and talk to a psychiatrist or a psychologist just to get the clearance that
Yeah.
they're okay.
Yeah.
Then before I go in, they have to sign a release. So that I'm legally not bound for anything that might go crazy. But I don't go alone. If it's a woman, I go with other women, my wife or other prayer warriors that are females. If it's a
Mhm.
man, I go with a couple of other big men
Yeah.
because if he gets violent, I need
Sure.
people to restrain.
Everybody listening to
Um,
this? Mhm.
and it's not these people they call you on the phone. They want me to get their address right then, hang up, and they want me knocking on
And
their door 10 minutes later
uh,
and walk in and wave a magic wand and make it all go away. I
uh,
have no magic powers. I've luckily been blessed to be allowed to be used as a vessel for a lot of these angelic beings and
yeah,
forces to come through to help me, but I'm not doing anything when I'm there. I'm just basically there to help these people draw a line in the sand, put my arm around them, and help them stand up against the worst bully of all time, the liar of liars,
yes,
the Lord of the Flies. I'm there to the great deceiver. I'm there to help them, know that they have somebody there to help, that's got
yeah.
their back, that they're not standing up in this fight alone. But I'm not really doing anything.
They're helping them see the lies that they haven't seen as lies,
Mhm.
so to speak. Yeah.
And then I have to deal with um, post-demonic stress disorder. These people,
Oh
many of these
yeah,
people
PTSD.
they don't want to hear from me again, even after the exorcism has been performed and all is good in the world again, and the family's all in love with each other again, and everything's great. Um, I hate to do this, but sometimes I have to say, I think you should probably relocate.
Mhm.
This home has been so badly
Yeah,
infested at one
it's
time.
absorbed that
Or
negativity. Yeah,
if you make one mistake and allow these things to come back in, I probably won't be able to help you. So
yeah,
you should probably relocate. These people don't want to hear from me again because every time they hear from me or see my face, it's a reminder of what happened. And sometimes it's a reminder for me too. Sometimes I let them know, listen, you know where to reach me if you need to reach me, but let's hope you never need to talk to me again.
amen.
And I wake up every day and pray that I never get that call again or get that person that reaches out to me again that's really got true demonic issues in their life.
Yeah.
I pray that I never have to take authority over an exorcism again because of that. It's a very ugly, scary thing,
Oh, I can't even
and
imagine.
it's yeah, and there's no quick fix.
But it's like when people who may or may not even believe in the paranormal or the afterlife or ghosts, and they have an experience, maybe see an apparition, even if it's a loved one's, crisis apparition. Their perspective on the world and life is completely changed from that moment on. So these people having that experience, I mean, I could see how, I mean, everything that you've known up until then is completely changed because you have experienced XYZ. So the way you deal with life from then on is going to be changed. You're going to have to make different decisions sometimes if you want to stay healthy. And by healthy, I mean, keep out the boogers. Yeah, because we have,
Sometimes people are so offended when I tell them that I want them to go see a psychiatrist, psychologist, and then they're surprised when I tell them I see one every month. Because the last thing you need is a crazy exorcist in your home.
yeah,
So I don't know. I could be crazy. I talk to somebody every month, every couple of months, and these are people that have known me uh, all my life. That one went on to be a psychiatrist, and one went on to
yeah,
be a psychologist. And we don't even really traditionally talk like I'm in their office, but we just talk.
yeah,
And they know, I know that they're saying things to me, and we're having a discussion that's orchestrated by them, but they're listening and they're watching. And at the end of this conversation, where I'm about to hang up, we know that they're either gonna say, "Be careful, keep doing what you're doing,
yeah,
God bless you," or they're gonna say, "Listen, um, I need to see you."
yeah,
Um, if I get that kind of response, I shut everything down and I try to get to them, or they
yeah,
come and see me. And if it requires, some counseling,
hmm,
maybe some meds, who knows? I'm
yeah,
not the doctor. Then
yeah,
we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I do happen to know that there's probably some exorcists or demonologists that claim they know how to perform exorcisms, or people that don't know how to do either that claim that they do out there roaming around that probably their elevator's working, but it doesn't go to the top floor.
sure,
And
Mhm.
it's dangerous when these people get into somebody's home and are dealing with they And the demons know that. The demons know
Yeah.
right away. And
Oh
these
yeah.
people get chewed up and spit out and
They
beat up
love
on. Yeah.
it. Party time for them. Like, oh, the amateurs are here. Let's have some fun. Which can be detrimental to the person that you're there
And me,
for in the
me
first
too.
place.
Like I said, I have no magic powers. I look at a house that's infested at high noon here in Vegas, and it looks like I'm wearing. It looks to me like I'm looking at it through sunglasses. That's how
Yeah.
they appear to me. Sometimes it's so strong that I won't even go in right away,
Hmm.
and I definitely won't enter on my feet. I enter after I've said, you know, a handful of special prayers at the front door.
Yeah.
When they open the door for me, I enter on my hands and knees
Hmm.
because I should try to show as much humility as I can
Hmm.
going in there. Sometimes I won't even go in right away on my first visit. I have to regroup because it's I don't want to make things worse because you talk about
Sure.
religious provocation. I don't do that, and just me showing up
It's provocation.
is.
Mhm.
And if you have
That
children and
white power
animals in the
right there.
house,
Yeah.
sometimes I tell the people find a babysitter and send your kids there, and
Yeah.
find a kennel and kennel your animals the day that I come. Because if things do go south, they're going to be the first ones that get attacked,
Yeah.
and it's just not good. So
Mhm.
many times I've driven up to homes and I've called from my cell and said, "Listen, I'm outside, but I just don't feel now's the right time for me to come in. Um, I'll call you when I get home. Let's
Mhm.
try and do this again tomorrow." And then I'll go back, and when I feel it's the right time for me to crawl in there, then I'll go for it. But you got to be careful because it's not just you.
Yeah.
You have other people that you have to worry about that are there, and people that
Yeah.
you brought with you to
Yeah.
help. You've got to worry about them too. So you got to be very careful.
We had a case once, and it was a generational thing, which was odd, and I had not dealt with that before. But the grown children's children were experiencing what they had as children in the grandparents' house, which is the house that the adult children had grown up in. And we knew something bad was in one. They had even taken all the furniture out of this bedroom, locked the door, and they said, "This is the creepy bedroom." I'm a medium. I feel things. I was like, oh, this is not good. But I don't. But the people I was with do cleansings, and they're knowledgeable. Cleansing is not my thing. I can help diagnose the situation, but I'm not real good about getting it out of the house. But we were in that room, and the grandmother and the daughter and the other daughter, the adults were, and my friends were trying to get this thing out, and I was just sitting there going, Lord, just let's get this done. And it was coming out, and about that time, the little boy, the grandchild, comes running up the stairs into the room, and I screamed, "Get him out of here!" Because I knew whatever that was calling to that little boy. And they grabbed him, and I didn't want him in the house in the first place. And after it was all over, the whole room filled with the fragrance of roses, fresh roses, which was wonderful. But afterwards, I said, "I'm so sorry. I apologize for screaming like that. But something told me to get that kid out of there because whatever that thing was wanting that child." It was just the most bizarre. That's why I don't deal with what you do. I like a plain old ghost, just a regular old dead person.
And those transgenerational curses are brutal because
Yeah.
the people that are now experiencing the activity are innocent victims. They just happen to
Yes.
have that blood running through their veins, and you can't go back to when the deed was done
No.
to undo it. So that takes drastic action
Yeah.
to sever that
It
link
was
from that
intense.
curse, and especially if a family's involved, they don't. You can't. It's hard to get everybody on board with what they need to do
Yeah.
to break that sever that
Hmm.
connection from that
Mhm.
transgenerational. It's
Yeah, the
It's hard.
grandkids, the children of the adult children were seeing the exact same things that their mothers were seeing when they were children in that house. And we got some crazy pictures of I was like, no thanks, I'm done. I just need dead grandma. That's not what I'd like to deal with. But it was and when the room, the fragrance was so beautiful, I knew whatever it was gone. And I said, "You do smell that, don't you?" And they said, "That's our grandmother's perfume."
Oh,
I
cool.
was like, it gives me cold chills today to think of it. That makes me tear up. But that was beautiful because it's like this. You're fine now. That we kicked it. Well, my friends kicked it to the curb, but that was quite dramatic. I couldn't deal with that all the time like you do. I just couldn't because I was worn out afterwards.
Okay, we do have a couple questions that came up.
Good.
Paul wants to know if you're in contact with anyone in the UK that could help a friend.
If it's with ghosts, I know plenty of really talented ghost hunters, ghostbusters that I could probably, depending on what part of the country, that I could probably connect the two. If it's something of a more darker, malevolent, demonic nature, off the top of my head, I don't know anybody in. Did he say England?
Yeah.
UK. Yep.
The UK. Off the top of my head, I don't know an exorcist in the UK that I can recommend off the top of my head, but I can look into my catalog. I have a worldwide Society of Exorcists catalog that I've kept over the years, and I might find somebody. But
Okay.
Everybody thinks that country is small. That country is large.
It's huge, yeah.
And it's not as easily to get around there as it is for us here. So you could have somebody, 2 villages over, but it's
the roads are
hard to get there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I did share your website. If I have your website right there. It's in the comments on all of where we're streaming at, and then also your new Facebook page.
Yay!
So people can get in contact with you if they need you.
I put my name. It was for the longest time. It just said Lawrence Marais, and then I put Shawn Patrick Whittington in parentheses after that, so they would know. But if you get on there, you can see it's me.
Okay.
I even tell the story of how that actually it is a tribute to my parents, Lawrence Marais and Edith Whittington. But how that name came up was many years ago. I was on a team of all ordained ministers, and we were going to do a show. I'm not going to say her name, but it was The Woman's Name, American Exorcist, and it was on the Lifetime channel for women. And it was about this female exorcist and her team. And we were all set to go. It had been green lighted, and we all, signed on the dotted line, and it was ready to go. And then everybody came under attack. We had people, the healthiest they've ever been in their lives, come down with like lupus. We had one of the deacons commit suicide. It was just really on set. The producer's leg got on fire. It was craziness. So they scrapped the project. But at that time, there was a real danger for exorcists that were being targeted by destructive cults and movements. They were going after exorcist time. So we were all required to come up with stage names. And so that's a legal stage name for me. But I came up with the name, my dad's first name and my mother's maiden name, and came up with Lawrence Marais. But so there was a backstory to that too. But all that's on the profile, because I still have people going there and then calling me and going, "That's some guy named Lawrence Marais," or some hacker dude reached out to me and said that I can friend you at Lawrence Marais, but I went there. That's not you. Well, that is me.
Yeah,
That's me.
My stage name is Teresa Caputo. I don't have a wig on right now, but so just look me up. Now, going back to your interview form that you send them, I mean, if they make it through that point, they're serious. I mean, if they, because we have an interview form we send out, and if they're seriously wanting help and are being truthful about it, they'll fill the form out. Now, do you ever do Zoom interviews as opposed to the phone call interviews with potential? Yeah, because I would think you may be able to see, and when I say see, third eye see if there's something there sometimes. Is that possible for you? I mean,
Sometimes.
yeah. It's like, yeah, well, there's a problem here, but you're not going to say that to the client, but
You'd
I would
be
imagine you could see
you
things.
like to have as much paperwork done as possible,
Yeah,
so
you got
that if because it's better to have it and never need it than to need
yeah.
it and not have it, and just you're telling people, well, they said this to me, and this
Hmm.
is how I felt, or this is what I saw, but nobody, and it's really important to, I don't have it in front of me, it's really important, and this is very old school, carry a logbook with you when you go there, so that when you're at places you can write stuff down. This happened on this day at this time, this
Mhm.
happened, and
Yeah.
so reacted this way, or I felt this way, or keeping logs is
Mhm.
very important too.
Do you ever video when you go? Do you do video?
That's another thing you got to get a release for. Some people
Yeah.
are all on board with you coming in there with your team and
Yeah.
performing a thorough um, exorcism of the property in the home
Yeah.
and or a person if need be. Sometimes they don't mind.
Hmm.
Sometimes they said, you know what, we're on board with everything, but we'd really rather we didn't have it on film.
Okay.
Um, so sometimes yes, sometimes not. And I've never been that kind of guy that really worries about what I'm going to capture on film to show anybody. I've never
Yeah.
been
No,
the
I'm
kind of
just.
guy. But there's a lot of people out there that are so want to capture that
Hmm.
killer evidence. I
Mhm.
have captured some of the most phenomenal things on camera. I've had parapsychologists with me on cases and had ghosts appear right in front of them and then disappear. And immediately they look at me and they start debunking what they just saw. And I just go, I'm inside, I'm thinking to myself, how could this guy be debunking what
Yeah.
he clearly just saw in front of him? So some people you're not gonna be able to
No.
make them believe. And I get friends of mine all the time go, I just posted that picture that we captured of that spirit on the staircase. That really awesome photo of it? And I'll go, yeah. And this Facebook paranormal group I sent the picture to, I got like 100 people beating me up over it.
Hmm.
I'm
That's
like,
always going to be
why
the
are
case.
you why are you so upset about it? Why did you
Yeah.
even send that picture to that group? They're just waiting. So I've never been that guy, but I have friends that are
Yeah.
still they're and God bless them. They're proud of a piece of footage or a still
Yeah.
that they caught that or a class A EVP that they caught that's just
Love it.
almost like talking like
Yeah.
the spirit said their name and said a full sentence
Hmm.
like if you don't get out of here I'm gonna slap you upside the head, Pete.
And then we say, "Can you do
Um
it again?" Yeah.
um I'm they should be proud of that.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna put it out there, be
Exactly.
ready to get beat up on,
Yep.
and you just got to have thick skin and just laugh it off. If they beat you up, they beat you up, but
Mhm.
you know, it is what it is.
Just expect it.
Yep. Yep. And Gina asked a question: how do you handle it if it's both? This was talking about mental illness and a
Oh
need for
yeah.
an exorcism can cause mental breaks, and they have that going on as well as the problems. Do you have the people leave the home for a time, if possible? Then you treat it while they also seek help.
That is probably one of the saddest and hardest things to deal with. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking of when my mother, the last year of my father's life and the last 2 years of her life, they were in hospice care. And I used to go visit them a lot. Sometimes I'd have my Ghost Be Gone hat on or a Ghost Be Gone shirt, sometimes even the collar.
Mhm.
And then I would get some of the nurses, men and women, come up to me on the side and go, listen, I know who you are. I know what you do. I totally buy into everything. I'm a believer. You have to come here sometime. If I can pull some strings and get you past the head nurse or the
Mhm.
person in charge on my shift in the middle of the night to get you in here to just walk around, you got to come here because there's a lot of stuff going on here, and it's mostly the psych ward. I know there's people in there that have been clinically diagnosed schizophrenic or God forbid whatever else that are
Yeah.
here that in addition to that, I'm here to tell you I think are possessed. I do believe that the um, people in that state of mind are even easier targets for the demonic than
Sure.
like the three of us.
Mhm.
And that's the really sad part because they can have severe mental illness and be possessed.
Yeah.
Now, getting the doctor to sign off to have you come in there and do an exorcism on them is virtually impossible.
Impossible. Yeah.
So that's what you're up against. But I've had people, in all the years I've been doing this, there's been a couple of times where the person was under the care of a physician.
Mhm.
The physician was devoutly religious person,
Mhm.
saw that there was something more going on than just what he clinically diagnosed them with,
Yeah.
and we were able to on the side work something out, and get permission to proceed. But
Mhm.
it was hard, and it
Yeah.
took
And rare.
many discussions with the doctor to say, well, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
I'm telling you this, you're telling me that, but we do believe this. What do you want to do here?
Mhm.
And then they have to be careful too. Like they don't want their colleagues to know that they signed off on an exorcism. So I almost have to trust this person. So if you're not going to sign off on, if you're going to give me permission, but not legally sign off, you know,
Mhm.
what can you say to me
Yeah.
that I'm going to totally believe and trust in you that after we do this, you're
Mhm.
not going to legally come at me.
Yeah.
And then there's a big trust factor there, and I have to trust my discernment. Do I trust this person?
Yeah.
What they're telling me, and am I going to be okay here? You just have to have
Faith.
hope. Yeah, you have to have
And,
faith and hope that your
yeah.
discernment is telling you the right thing.
Yeah. Um, brings up a question. People with severe mental illness who are incapable of making decisions to a point, like they didn't bring that on themselves, and for that person to become possessed, where does God fit into that? Why isn't there somebody standing guard for this poor soul who has no control to say no to that? To like, demon, get the fuck away. Oh, excuse me. You're not welcome here. You know, is there, it just seems like there's, what do you say to that? Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. And this is what I tell people: 99.9% of the time, the person who's under attack
Uh-huh.
has either intentionally, most of the time unintentionally, said something or did something that drew the attention of a malevolent entity, an unclean spirit, and they got targeted.
Okay.
Um, that's why you got to be careful what you say. Like I have people that I know that will say this to me, and only because I'm a loving guy and I don't want to go to jail for manslaughter or assault, I don't
Mhm.
slap them. But I hear people all the time go, um, I'm glad, Shawn, I'm glad you're on the path you're on, but I would rather rule in hell than serve in heaven.
Yeah. Call me when you
And I
get
just
there and tell
look
me
at
how
them,
I'm going.
I
Yeah.
just look at them and just, because you never know what's floating around that's going to hear
Mhm.
that and all of a sudden
Let's
attach
make
onto
it
you.
happen. Yeah.
So there's people that are, I get a lot of Ghostbusters come to me that have issues because they went somewhere,
Mhm.
they said the wrong thing, they did the wrong thing, and now they've got a bad attachment, and now they're calling me. So ghost hunters got to be very careful with the way they provoke, the way, if they're not showing total respect to the
Yeah.
spirits that are there on the location, be careful. Um, God gave us all free will.
Mhm.
We all have guardian angels. I
Yes.
talk to mine often. I thank mine
Me
often.
both.
They're
Mhm.
just waiting for you to ask for their help. If you need their help, ask them. But sometimes God will allow a possession to take place if because he knows that person can handle it, He knows that person is going to get saved and is being used as an example for somebody close to that person that needs to see the glory of God at work. They need to see this loved one going through this and then to be delivered.
Yeah.
To get them to change their ways
What
and
they're like.
realize that God is real, angels are real, demons are real, possession is real. And if you don't want this to happen to you, change your ways. Sometimes it's an example
An
thing.
example.
But the person that's being used as the vessel to be used as the example, I think God already knows this person he knows. This
Yeah.
person is going to handle it
Mm-hmm.
and is going to get saved.
Yeah.
Whereas,
The drug addicted stripper, that's a different story. Yeah.
that's my humble opinion on why I think.
That's a beautiful, perfect
Mhm.
answer to my question. Thank you.
You're welcome, brother. You know I love you. I love you both.
I love you
You know
too.
that.
We love
But I
you
know
too.
people, if I'm thinking it, somebody else is. So
Yep. Paul actually said, excellent question.
I have a few good ones now and then.
Yes.
Let me also add to that. I don't know anything. I don't have all the answers.
No one has. One does.
One day we're going to be on Ghost Ed 101 on a cloud in heaven having the same conversation, and we're going to laugh about all the things we know then that we don't know now.
Yeah.
That's why I think I'm so into, as hard as it is, that's why I think I'm so into the seminary and learning about the one I serve and being amazed about the things I'm learning that I thought I knew that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because it's just, to me, so fascinating. All these things that it's just the mysteries of it all, God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit and the Trinity and the Immaculate Conception and the saints and the angels and all. It's all just so wondrous. People ask me all the time, "Can you recommend a good paranormal book to me?" I go, you should already know what my answer is going to be. It's going to be the Bible. It's the
Yeah.
most supernatural paranormal book out there.
Jesus is the most
And isn't it still the
political
bestseller
media
book
of all
for
time.
2,000
Yeah.
years, the best-selling book of all
Yeah.
time?
Full
Read
of
the Bible.
mediumship and supernatural occurrences.
Yep.
And I too have been. People go, why don't you preach more? Some people are preachers.
Yeah.
Some not so
Our
much. Like I
healers.
said, I'm not the guy that gets his preach on. It's just not. I like to testify
You're a
to the
caretaker.
glory of God. I like to tell people the extreme situations of divine intervention that I've witnessed, and I like to testify to that. I'm not a big get my preach on kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yep. And Robin actually has a really good question that I'm curious about. Do you ever know of a time that a demon renounced the devil?
Oh, that's deep.
Okay. Here we go. Everybody,
We have 25 minutes now.
I would stand up and shake it off, but then my credibility goes out the window. Okay. I talk about this with my colleagues all the time, and I get a lot of my colleagues get mad at me. Some are like, that makes sense. Okay, if that works for you, brother, great. Some get really upset at me. Two things I do during an exorcism that a lot don't do. One, I will many times, even though the unclean spirit is fully manifested and in my face. One, when I tell people, what's the best thing I can do to try to make things better in my life? Well, one, every morning you should look in the mirror and talk to yourself. And you're not crazy if you do that, but ask yourself to try to be the best version of yourself that you can that day. Really learn how to forgive, not necessarily forget, but learn how to forgive, learn how to turn the other cheek, and pray for your enemies. Because as soon as they get saved, you're not going to have any issues anymore. Now, having said that, I will ignore the demon. Well, you got to ignore them anyhow, because anything that comes out of their mouth is a lie. But sometimes they mix lies with the truth. But I don't get into direct verbal communication with them. But I will continue to talk to that person that I know's in there. That we're fighting for you out here. I need you to fight from in there. So whatever you got to do, whatever you're able to do from in there, if you can hear me, fight. Some people think that the person, and I've talked to many people that after the unclean spirit is gone, they remember many things of the exorcism and many things during that. And they even remember hearing me say that to them. But many don't. Many of them have memory loss and don't remember it. And sometimes, in some circumstances, the things that happened to them during the possession, good. You don't want to remember. But I continue to talk to that person now. There's actually a case. I talk about this case. I think it's probably the last story I tell in my first book. I was telling this, something happened here, and I believe that there was more than one demons, and I do believe they run in packs. This girl couldn't walk. She'd been in a wheelchair for many years. Her father was a hardcore Satanist and devil worshiper. And the mother told me this horrific story of, at the time she was being conceived, he offered his seed up to the devil. So his seed was cursed at the point of conception, and the daughter was born normal, then soon after that was wheelchair bound for many years, and doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. So I'm performing this exorcism while this girl is in this wheelchair, and it was the only time I saw levitation. I saw the chair levitate and do things on its own that the child didn't have any way to do it to the chair, and the chair was locked in place anyhow, but was doing things. But there was a time, and the house is also very haunted by loved ones that had already crossed over of this family. But I also saw many angelic beings in this home present for this exorcism, because I'm asking for every angelic being to gather around and help here. I need help. I felt I was losing the battle there, and I need help. But I, at one point, did address the demon, or one of them at this point, and said, and I get in trouble for this, but I told this demon, if you are able to find it in you to renounce where you're at and what you're doing and accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and beg for God's forgiveness, if you're able to do that, and I don't think you can, but if you're able to do that, there are beings here with you right now, and you know that they're here, that will take you to heaven. But you have to be willing to denounce your master and change all of that around. If you can't do that, then I'm sending you back to hell. One thing demons don't want to do, they don't even want to be in hell.
That's why they keep trying to come up here.
They don't even want to be in hell.
It's that great. Why are you trying to take everybody with you?
Oh, and it was at that moment things started to change in this exorcism. Did whatever one of many demons that I was actually speaking to at that moment, did this entity do that? I couldn't tell you if it did or not. But I'll tell you something about being angry and why I tell people learn how to turn the other cheek. There was a time during that exorcism I was hit and lashed out at. And for a brief moment, I got pissed off. And at that moment, things got about as bad as they had gotten ever. And it was because I got angry, and the demonic used my anger against me and used it as energy to get even worse. And there was a priest there that made me go in the garage and wait. I waited in the garage for about an hour till he came out and said, I'm sending you home because you can't come back in there now. You're so compromised. Even if you're not mad now, it's I got to send you home. So I pray that never happens again. But those are the kinds of things you got to be careful of. Many times the victim will urinate and defecate and vomit all over themselves. And if it's a woman, you don't want men taking her to the bathroom to strip her down and clean her up. You want women to do that. But
Mhm.
you got to be aware of all these things. If it's a man that's done that to himself, you got to
Yeah.
get men to go in there. Now, the men aren't only there to keep the possessed man from attacking you. Sometimes I've seen possessed women, do way worse
Yeah.
than possessed men in terms of violent attacks and lashing out at people. But you got to take all that stuff into consideration. But anger, you can't have any anger. You got to really work on curbing your anger, and
Mhm.
you got to do things that you know they can't do, which is showing humility. Demons are incapable
Yeah.
of showing humility. So there's a scene in there's one of the episodes where you see me baptizing all of the family members' feet in holy water, in a bowl of holy water. I've gotten them all together as a family unit, which the demonic are trying to destroy.
Separate.
And the fact that all of them are allowing me to baptize them, and I'm baptizing them in the most humble way I can, which is on my knees, washing their feet in holy water, which Christ did to his disciples. The demonic, they can't handle that.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't know that my dear friend who was a pastor, was the one that was. I don't want to give anything away. Who hasn't seen the show, but that was a groundbreaking case for me, and there was many things that they couldn't put in that episode that I told in this story to this producer and the show
Mhm.
creator, because they just couldn't do it. They said we do it, and like the one episode where I crawl on my hands and knees and see Christ. I'll 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 admit now that's not how I saw Christ. I
Mhm.
actually saw Christ on the cross after being crucified, and it was probably one of the most horrific uh,
Visions.
visions I'd ever seen. But that's what I saw, and they couldn't put that on TV because it was just too graphic. But
Yeah.
I had actually I used his cross to help myself. I couldn't stand, and I
Mhm.
used his cross to help me stand, and I kissed him on his foot, and that's when everything turned around, and I was able to help that little boy. But you've got to be ready for anything. And like I said, I got drug into this kicking and screaming. I didn't wake up one morning and say I want to do this. My
Yeah.
wife was under attack, and I didn't know how to fight back.
Mhm.
We used a Ouija board on a haunted case. We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
Something followed us home, lived in my home for about 2 months, attacked my wife. She came out of it with 3 very rare forms of cancer, should be dead. It's only by divine intervention that she's still here. But that's how I got on the path to doing what I'm doing, because I met my then mentor who's now retired, and she helped me fight this thing out of the house. But she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And she said, I think you're being called to do this. And if you're interested in continuing your training, I'll
Mhm.
do that with you. But even then, I wasn't done with my training, and I came under attack a couple of times so bad that I left the field for a while because I was done.
Sure.
Um,
I've had friends say
yeah.
that. They
But
just
then
had to.
something happened.
Mhm.
Something happened that brought me back in, that made me realize, they're they're
You got
letting you
work
know.
to
Yeah. Did I answer that question?
do. What was the question?
No, you
I
did.
I hope I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
More
Well, we
questions.
have about, excuse me, I'm losing my voice now, and I haven't even
I
been
know.
talking.
Mine's going.
But we have about 15 minutes. So if anyone has any last minute questions, we can try to get them in. And one question I do have, because you always have fun putting me on the spot when I'm on your show. So it's your turn. I'm curious on if you've seen Demon House and what are your thoughts on that?
I have not seen it.
Oh, of
People
course not.
sometimes go, I don't watch the shows, uh,
Right.
and people wonder why I don't. I may occasionally like I'm looking forward to, only because I love the actress that plays
Mm-hmm.
um, Mrs. O'Neill in the original Exorcist, and I know they're coming out with a sequel to that, a kind of a sequel. I know it's not William Peter Blatty. A lot of people think The Heretic was the sequel, and actually it's the third movie, which is
Mm-hmm.
Legion. that Peter Blatty, that was really his sequel to The Exorcist. And now that he's passed on, this is kind of a reboot. That's not, people think it's a remake of The Exorcist. It's not. It's kind of a reboot and a sequel in terms. But I'm looking forward to actually going to that. But I don't even go to the theater to see those movies because I'll tell you why. For me, you kind of living that.
Yeah.
The movies don't do a whole lot for me.
Exactly.
And the shows don't really do a whole lot for me, so I don't watch them. God
Right.
bless Zach. The only time I reached out to him, I was working just a terrific case here that I thought would be great on the show. This huge mansion that had a bomb shelter underneath that they made into a bowling alley. And there was the demonic was present. Many spirits were present. They were following us home. We were there trying to clear the house so that my friend, who was the real estate agent trying to sell the mansion, could sell it. I reached out to Zach, and he first said yes. Then he said, I want your wife and you involved because you guys have been there, 12 times and have all these stories. I said, cool, that would be great. Then I don't know if I made some type of paranormal faux pas. I don't know. I'm not in the biz. I asked him, listen, my wife and I don't charge for our ministry work, and I do support a lot of charities. We'll help, and I'll try to get you in this house. The guy that owned the house at the time, I suspect, was connected, if you know what I mean. Here, and I was going to have to convince him to allow Zach to film there. But I said, if I can get you in this home, my wife and I would like some type of financial,
compensation.
whatever. Yeah. And as soon as I said that, and I don't know for sure if that's the reason, he said, well, you know what? I think I'm going to pass on this case. After he first said, yeah, I would love to do this. I don't know if that was a big paranormal faux pas, asking for money. A lot of people have said no. Some people have said, I know Zach, and that's exactly what it was. I don't know. But I don't watch the shows, you know. I have seen some Ghost Adventures. I've seen some Ghost Hunter shows, episodes. I enjoyed them. But just kind of really not my thing. So I'm sorry that I haven't seen it.
No, I was just more curious because they took someone who came to visit the house that used to live in the house, and she came under possession, and they took her to a local church to have an exorcism done on her. And I was just kind of wondering what your take was on how the exorcism was done.
It was probably done well. I know Zach is smart enough, having come under demonic attack many times himself. He knows, get him to hallowed ground, get him to a priest. Who probably knows a lot more how to handle that than him. So God bless him for doing that. It was probably well done without me having seen it. Because you get him on hallowed ground, you're ahead of the game right there. And then even if the priest isn't, he's got enough theology knowledge and demonology knowledge that even if he's not an exorcist, and I hate doing that, he knows enough to really, really help a lot. So that was probably a great move on Zach's part.
I don't watch the shows because I get so frustrated how they misuse the equipment. It just drives me insane. I just can't. It's like, that's not how you use that.
I probably don't watch them because I had enough ghosts tell me I'm not a circus act. They keep asking me to turn the flashlight off. They keep asking me to roll the ball. They keep asking me to knock on the wall. Can you get somebody in here like Philip that I can talk to? And you're never around, Philip, so I can't get you to come in and talk to this person. I'm a big fan of mediums. You guys know that. My wife's very sensitive. I like to investigate with a good psychic medium who's truly gifted, because they're the only one that can really talk to the spirit and find out what's going on.
They're willing to. I mean,
that's the
if
way
they're
it
not
is.
willing to, you guys can still, they're there, but it doesn't mean they're going to talk to you.
And it's not filtered with white noise in the background. And
people don't understand that. I mean, it's like, all mediums maybe can sense and see the spirit, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a two-way conversation. And it's like, that doesn't mean I
find that someone like you, Philip, I mean, you've got a big heart. You're a good person. You're gifted.
Right.
You look different to spirit than Heather and I look to spirit. You look different. So if you approach them right, they're more likely to communicate with you and
Yeah.
either give a message or ask for help or whatever the case may be to you than they would to Heather or myself.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to bring a good gifted psychic medium with me on cases
Mhm.
that I trust, that I know is gifted, because I've never had cases that I haven't been able to bring to closure that I
Hmm.
didn't have a gifted person with me. Many cases that I didn't have a gifted person with me. For my wife and I tried, but we just couldn't communicate with the spirit, and we weren't able to bring closure to those cases.
Mhm.
And we had a case. Well, this was a fun investigation. It was an old hotel built in 1909, I think. And there was a woman there, in spirit that was just bad mood. I mean, we knew it. And I was like, I'm going to win her over. She just got a story. I don't know. It's halfway through the night. I just went and sat down on this bench in this hallway and I said, look, I know you're angry, but I am here. This is your chance to let it out, talk to me. And then she just started rattling. Tell me about the man that was trying to be frisky with her, and she took her hat pin out and stabbed him with it to get him to. I mean, it was just great. And I'm just talking to her, and everybody's like, "Who are you talking to?" I said, "The lady that was so nasty." I said, "She's cool. She's nice now. She sees that we're respectful. We're not here causing a ruckus." And I said, "Just tell me about sticking the man with a hat pin." I just thought it was hysterical. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, you can win them over sometimes. Sometimes you can't, but.
Mhm.
But we
Yeah.
always explain when we go into a location, we have an opening statement that states why we're there, what we're there to do. We'd love to communicate with you, help you in any way we can. We have a whole spiel. We just don't barge in and start saying, touch that REM pod, They're people. Hopefully they're just people. That's what I want, just people.
Yep. Well, we're out of time, as
Oh,
always. Yeah, I know. We got 5 minutes to start wrapping things up. So, always love having Shawn on our show. It's always a great
absolutely.
conversation. Yeah,
I
definitely.
talk too much. I didn't even give you guys a chance to talk much.
No,
Oh, no,
you're
you're
the guest.
fine.
You're supposed to talk. I just want to
Yeah.
know who's peeping out on that poster behind you with the eyeball,
Uh,
the black and white poster.
down there in the corner by the door, the bottom of the
Yeah,
door. That's a poster of the movie Frailty.
frailty.
Written, produced, and directed by Bill Paxton, who also stars in it. It's Bill
Oh,
Paxton's directorial debut movie.
okay.
Great movie. It's not a true story, but it's a very different twist on the whole demonic possession thing. I'd
Hmm.
never seen a story like that before on that topic, and it's a great movie. Powers Booth is also in it. May he rest in peace. Bill's passed. May he rest in peace.
Mhm.
And Matthew McConaughey's in the movie,
Oh, wow.
but
And the
it's
name
about frailty,
frailty. Yeah, I've
and
heard
it's
that.
about demonic possession and a very different form of exorcism, if you will, that Bill, who is actually meets Saint Michael, who tells him how he needs to approach this thing, and it's just
A candle.
it's a
Yeah.
great movie. So that's that
Mhm.
movie poster for frailty. But I've got the Changeling, which is a true. Well, first was a book, then a movie, one of my
Yeah.
favorite ghost stories of all time. Then I
Yeah.
got Amityville 2, The Possession,
No,
which
no, no,
that's a true story, and I'm into the
no.
way the demonic uh, that whole
Yeah.
demonic thing there is for case study is a very interesting. And a lot of people say, why do you have a Night of the Living Dead poster there? Well,
That's cool.
I'm a big horror movie buff fan since I was a
Yeah.
little boy, but that is an autographed, a Tom Savini
Oh,
autographed original print Night of
wow.
the Living Dead poster that he did 20 years later after the original movie by George Romero. George gave Tom Savini permission to do a remake of it in color and put his own twist on it, and that's a poster of that movie. That
That's amazing.
Tom's. So of course that's going to be in my office.
Yeah.
Um, but that's it. Everything else back there. A lot of crosses and a lot of historic relics, haunted relics, religious relics, and
I don't see anybody behind you this time. The other time it was some old woman.
have you seen the dream catcher? If it hasn't moved much, I have no fans in here. No The
It's
vents
all,
off. There's no fans in here. And sometimes if the spirits are active in here, it'll rock or spin on its own while I'm doing interviews. But I think you guys would have said something if it started doing that. It's been quiet here today.
Yeah. Yep.
it seems very peaceful,
Yep.
which is good.
Yep. And before we go, just let everybody know where they can find you, Shawn, in case they need help. I know Paul was asking for help, so I want to make sure that he can reach out to you.
Yeah.
Best place is the website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. There's a contact forum page. There's also an email. He can just send me an email. Or just reach out to me here on Facebook at Lawrence Maurice, Shawn Patrick Whittington, and send me a private message. And I try to get back. I mean, just before, I'm not going to lift it up right now. We don't have time, but I've got a stack about that thick of just what I pulled off my website before we started the show, of people that have reached out. It's a never-ending thing. I can't catch up. I try my best. So if I don't get back to you right away, it's not because I'm blowing you off. It's because I'm buried.
Yeah.
And being in the seminary too, that takes priority. But I try to seminary studies. If I get a little caught up, I go to my messages and try and help people.
Okay, perfect. Anything else you want?
No, you look very handsome tonight, Philip. You look very pretty tonight, Heather. I love you both. I respect you
Thank
both.
you.
And I got
Love
to
you
get you both
too.
back
All
on
the
my
work.
show sooner than later.
Love you. Yep,
And
love
I'm
you
so
too.
glad you can do what you do, because I have never attempted to even want to do it, but thank God that you love. Well, I guess you love doing it, because
I love serving God. If this is what He
Yeah.
wants me to do, great. But I want you both to know you're on my prayer list. I pray for
Thank
you guys
you.
often,
Thank
and
you.
I pray for everybody watching and listening. I pray for you all, and I love you all, and thank you all for the continued support.
thank you
Perfect.
so much.
Thank you so much. And we will be back in 2 weeks on August 18th at 9 p.m. Eastern with special guest Robert Bradley for a presentation about science and the paranormal. He's been on our show before talking about a similar thing, and I'm looking forward to bringing that back with some of his new research projects that he's working on. And mark your calendars. Let me just double check to make sure I have the date right, because it's been a long week already. No, the 16th, not the 18th. Yep, I knew I was wrong. So that's the 16th, not the 18th. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And then in 4 weeks, we will be back with a paranormal roundtable to discuss collecting evidence. So make sure you join. Philip, you act like you're so.
I'll be here for that one. Well, hopefully I'll get the graphics spelled correctly, and we'll get them out first, because my spelling is as bad as. Yeah.
Well, I get dates wrong, so I'm right there with you. But again, thank you everyone for watching. We will see you in 2 weeks, and thank you, Shawn, for joining us. As always, it's been a pleasure.
So much. Good night,
see you guys
everyone,
later.
and all our international friends.
Good night, everybody.